So here's the story behind the project of the Lifeguard Kit. It started when my mom had to go in for some routine knee surgery, and well, things just complicated from there. She wound up with C. diff. She previously had Guillain-Barré, which complicated even further. So by January, she's still in the hospital, and the doctors are literally sitting us down and saying, you want to get her affairs in order because she's not going to make it. So we didn't know what to do. And she was in this semi-comatose state for the next 6 months. During that time, and obviously very early on, went to her house and I'm like, okay, I need to figure out what papers are necessary, not just because she may be passing, but there are still some things that are due. Utility bills and mortgage payments and phone and all those things still had to be taken care of because she hadn't passed yet. So these things have to be maintained. And then once she did pass, then there's all of the other documents and actions that have to go and take place. So I wound up going to her house and just going through every room, going through every drawer, pulling out any documents or papers or anything that looked important and bringing it into one room. And then I wound up just laying it on the couch, on the tables, on the floor. Papers were just everywhere, trying to get things organized and sorted. And at the end of the day, pack all of it up, put it in a box, set it to the side, come back the next day, bring it all back out and keep going through it. And as I'm going through it, I'm starting to see some patterns and stuff and realizing some of these are really important papers, some of these are not so important. So took the really important papers and started putting them into a binder so I have quick and easy access to those. During this time, we didn't even know which papers were going to be really important and which weren't, so I might throw them in there just in case into the binder. But we were trying to do some things like figure out what are her utilities, how do we pay them? So we were having to hack into some of her accounts online. My brother was better at that than I was, so he was able to get into some of these accounts so we can make some payments or go to the bank and explain what's going on and make payments there. But even just figuring out that big picture took a lot of time and effort. We then got some of these documents into the binder, and as other documents would come in, we put those inside and maybe take something out or add to or whatever. And this wasn't just her bills and stuff, but it was also all the medical stuff that we were dealing with while she was in this comatose type state. So I'd bring the binder with me to doctor's appointments, or her meeting with doctors, I should say, and I'd have information there. If I was going to the bank, I would take the binder with me, and any other meetings that I had. And it really was tremendous to have everything in one place, generally organized. And it reduced some of the stress of everything that was going on during this very difficult situation. So with that binder, I wound up not just sticking papers in there, but eventually I need to organize this a little bit better. All right, I've got them in different sections. Here's the medical section. Here's things for vehicles, and here's all of that. So all these different sections kind of arose from that so I could quickly get to what I needed for my mom. So long story short, she wound up recovering after an extended period of time. It's absolutely awesome. She is in her 80s right now. She does Zumba every week, which is absolutely awesome. So I'm so glad that I have my mom. And I was able to give her the binder and say, hey, I organized this, because honestly, she had everything organized in her way. So she knew where things were. She could get to them, no problem. You ask her and she's got it. And I think most of us can do that. But for somebody else, an outsider like that, that's not that easy. They don't know how you think, how you process, how you store stuff. So it can be definitely more difficult to do that. So when I was building this binder for my mom, and then she finally recovered, which was awesome. And I said, here's the binder. I thought, like, I should probably make one of these binders with my important documents in case something happens to me, my wife. It'll reduce a lot of the stress and grief on her if I were in the hospital, not able to communicate properly, or if I passed away. It's one binder with all these important documents that she can then use for whatever she needs, or even hand it off to someone that she trusts and say, look, I can't deal with this right now. Can you help me? Everything should be in there. So I built that and added some instructions on there. Oh, here's what to do if I'm incapacitated. Here's what to do if I pass away, some of the beginning steps. And then I made more formal pages and sections in there so that anybody can look at the index and just go through like, oh, this information's in this section, and go there and grab it. So I felt, okay, good. This is nice. I got that. I feel better. But I also ran into, oh, wait a minute. I've got documents that are her documents, her birth certificate versus my birth certificate. I guess I can put them all together. And anyways, I realized that did not work very well, because first of all, something happened to me and she handed the binder over. Well, she's handing my stuff and her stuff to somebody else when they don't need to see all of her personal information in that. So I thought, it probably makes more sense just to have a separate binder. So one for me and then one for her. If there's shared documents, then probably just put it in, we'll just pick one like that the shared documents go into, and then there's the individual documents. So that worked great as well, and I felt good about that. And we have many children, so I thought, I probably need one for them too. So I literally built a binder for each one of my kids. And in the beginning, there's very little that goes into their binders. It's going to be their birth certificate, maybe a vaccination record or sheet or something like that, maybe a couple other medical things, but a social security card, but not a lot. Passport, if you have one of those for them, those kind of things go in there. There's not very much. But I knew that as they got older, and now they buy their first car. Oh, well, you got to get a title, put that in there. They start getting their own insurance as they start growing. This would start to fill up for their binder. And I could, as they become adults, I would say, here you go, here's your binder. And that worked fantastic as well. And then I realized over the course of time that my mom survived, and that was awesome. But if this happened again, I'm going to be the executor. And I know she's got her kit, which is great, but I made a version for her, but that I keep. So in other words, if she had extra documents or she mentioned some information or something like that, I can jot it down in the binder that I have. And if anything happens to her, I know where her binder is because we've talked and we've chatted about it. I can take her binder plus mine, combine them together, and good to go. And unfortunately, this did have to happen with my dad. So after the binders were going and I realized the value of these and I've got them set up for my family, I asked my dad, I said, hey, do you mind if I come down and sit down with you just to go over some of these things? Would you be offended? He said, no, that'd be fine. So went down, met with him, and he's super organized. So he actually had his own binder that his lawyer had put together basically for him, and he added some more stuff in it. So I kept mine better. I felt it was a little more organized and more sections and clearer with directions and that, but he had all the papers right there. So I showed him what I had, and he feels like, yeah, generally have pretty much the same thing, which I agree. So I'm like, yeah, that's cool. We went over some things in case anything were to happen in the future. All right, yep, I know where you keep that binder, and that's cool. And then I had my own lifeguard kit binder for him with any information that I wanted to jot down, or a time or two, he may have had a duplicate of something. He goes, here, you can just hold on to this one. And so now I had that information little bit at home. Unfortunately, about a year later, he did wind up in the hospital and passed away. So as the executor of the state, I took my lifeguard kit, I took all the stuff out of his binder, put it into mine, so it's in the sections that I'm familiar with, and was able to then go through the process of being an executor, which if you've ever done that, it's a lot of work. There's a lot of calls and paperwork, and you still have to find a few things, but generally everything was there. I just had to take care of all of those actions, and worked with a probate lawyer. And with that probate lawyer, they would ask for certain things at certain times, and I was able to get it very quickly because it was all right there in the binder. Here, you need a copy of this, boom, here you. And it was nice that the probate lawyer at one point said, I've never worked with someone so organized and can get me information so quickly as you can. It's been a joy to work with you. So that kind of felt like, oh, this is sort of proving the value and the worth of this lifeguard kit in a situation like this. And I talked to a few of my friends about this that are in business. I said, hey, check it out. You mentioned what happened with my mom, and then of course what happened with my dad. And they said, this is great. And one of my friends half jokingly called it the death book. If you pass away, you got to have all of this together. And he wound up getting one and gave it to his mom and said, you need to fill this out, blah. So if anything happens, I can take care of it. So jokingly he called it the death book. But what I realized as I went on is that your life is always moving and changing, and there are documents that follow suit with that. So I might sell a vehicle, which means I'm taking the title out of my lifeguard kit, maybe buying another one, taking that title and sliding it in. These documents can change, not super frequently, but they change. I might have a life insurance policy or medical insurance policy that I might want to keep in there just so it's in one spot and easy to access. So I'll go ahead and swap those out as necessary. Not super frequent, but happens. My passport, that expires every, I forget, is it 10 years? Something like that. So, all right, new passport goes in there, gets swapped out. So there's all these things that are slowly changing over time. And I quickly started realizing this isn't a death book. This is a living book, a living document, a living piece that changes as you grow and you change. And you can put your will in there, and then you may have children need to update the will, swap that out. And again, these things don't happen super frequently. Some things more often than others, but it's a process. And I realized, oh, it was so great, because there's so many times when people, well, I'm on the phone or something like, hey, do you have this particular account number? Yeah, hold on 1 second. And within 30 seconds, I got it. Do you have the social security number for your daughter? Yeah, hold on, grab that binder, boom, there it is. I can grab that information super quickly and it just feels good. It feels great to be organized like that. And not only do I know where it is, it's one of those things that my wife knows where it is, my kids know where it is, if anything happens. And what we did is we took ours and we put it into a waterproof, fireproof safe and then put that into our closet. Now, you can get a bigger safe, you can get a smaller safe, whatever, so long as it fits in there and it keeps it protected. We don't recommend, and I'll talk about this stuff later, but we don't recommend putting important documents into a safe deposit box. If you put it into a safe deposit box, you can run into issues. In fact, let me tell you what we ran into. So when my mom was in the hospital in comatose, we wound up going through some of her stuff and we found a safe deposit key folder or a little sleeve, but there's no key in it, but it said the name of the bank. And we know she has a bank account there. So I went over to the bank. I said, hey, can I talk to somebody about someone? Went into an office. I said, here's the situation. My mom is in the hospital, literally across the street. She has an account with you, or a few accounts with you. We found this and we're thinking she may have a safe deposit box. If she does, she might have some important documents in there, like her will or things like that. So can you tell us if she has a safe deposit box? And he just looked across the desk and said, even if she did, we couldn't tell you because it's a matter of privacy and stuff like that. She's like comatose, she can't respond, and these are urgent matters that need to be taken care of. Can I bring something from the doctor saying here's her current state? And they said, no, if she passes away, then you can come back with a death certificate and then we can go in there with you and open it up. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is not good. So I very quickly learned that safe deposit boxes are great for some things, but not in important documents, especially when they have to do with maybe you passing away or if they're needed during your incapacitation. So anyways, lifeguard kit in a safe, in my closet. That's been working absolutely fantastic. We have quick and easy access to it. If there was an emergency, we had to get out of the house right away. Boom, I'm grabbing those binders and taking those with, because there's a lot of important documents there. So that's kind of where the lifeguard kit project started with my mom. Wound up making it for my family, made one for my dad, and in every case, it's really been beneficial. So I hope as you go through this program and you see the different sections and you see a couple different ways that I'll show you how to do this. The easy way, super easy, if you're not very organized, you can go through this. And there's also a way you can nerd or geek out on it by doing all kinds of detailed stuff if that's more of your style. But both of those are going to be incredibly valuable to yourself and to others who may have to step in certain circumstances. So as we go through this, take your time, be patient, one step at a time. Every time you take another step, it's just making things easier for you and for others.